Hi guys, it's Emma, and I'm about to tell you why having a twin brother is the biggest nightmare of my entire life. But first, smash that like button and subscribe. So picture this. I was done. Completely done. One more prank from Jake and I was going to lose my mind. I stormed into the living room, grabbed his juice right off the table and dumped it straight on his head. He screamed. I grabbed a baseball bat. He ran. And just as I was about to catch him, Mom walked in. "Emma, what are you doing to my poor baby?" My poor baby. My poor baby locked me in a haunted house down the street for 3 hours. 3 hours. But did anyone notice I was gone? Nope. Because in this house, Jake could do absolutely no wrong. Ever since we were born, Jake acted like being 10 minutes older made him royalty. 10 minutes. My parents treated him like the chosen one. And I was just the other twin. It's not that they hated me. They just loved Jake more. And the worst part? He knew it, and he used it. Every single day, case in point, our 10th birthday beach party. I spent a whole hour building the most incredible sandcastle you have ever seen. Towers, walls, a little moat. I was basically an architect. I turned my back for 2 seconds to grab a shovel, and Jake and his best friend Ryan came charging in like 2 tiny wrecking balls and flattened the whole thing. Why? Because it was ugly and ruining his perfect view. He threw sand in my face and sprinted away laughing. I launched the beach bucket at his head, nailed him perfectly and got grounded. He cried. I got punished. Classic. And it only got worse as we got older. Those two were the brattiest kids in school, always embarrassing me, always pulling some dumb prank, like this one time in 10th grade science lab. Ryan was my experiment partner. I asked him a simple question about gravity. He leaned back in his chair with that annoying grin and said, "Gravity? Easy. It's when Emma tries to get out of bed in the morning." I raised an eyebrow. "And?" He shrugged. "And fails. Because she's a big fat cow." I stared at him for 1 second. Then I flung my textbook straight across the table. Pens flew, papers scattered, the whole class erupted. Ryan ducked just in time. Jake, watching from across the room, was crying, laughing. I decided right then and there. I was done letting those two live in my head rent-free. I put my head down, focused on school, and became the top student in my class. I joined the debate team, the poetry club, and the yearbook committee. I stopped caring what Jake thought. And honestly, it felt amazing. By 10th grade, I was selected to represent my school at a national debate competition. And that is where everything changed. That's where I met Tyler, captain of the debate team, star tennis player, and genuinely, unfairly attractive. We absolutely destroyed the competition together, and afterward he invited me to one of his practice sessions. I was watching from the sidelines when a tennis ball came screaming straight at my face. Tyler lunged and caught it just inches away. He looked at me and said, "Can't have that pretty head getting hurt." I blinked. My brain completely stopped working for a second. Was he talking to me? Was this real life? One energy drink after practice turned into a walk. The walk turned into a date. The date turned into more dates. And before I even processed what was happening, Tyler officially asked me to be his girlfriend. For the first time ever, people knew me as more than just Jake's sister. I had my own identity, my own reputation. And Jake was furious. He made it his personal mission to ruin everything. Spaghetti dumped over Tyler's head in the cafeteria.
Whoa, dude, your head!
Chair yanked out from under him in class. Water bottle knocked onto his lap in the hallway. You name it, Jake did it. Ryan usually stepped in before things got physical, which honestly only frustrated Jake more. I kept telling myself Jake was just jealous. Tyler was fine. We were fine. Everything was fine. Until it wasn't. Tyler called me to dinner at this really fancy restaurant. I showed up excited, sat down across from him, and he slid his phone across the table without a word. Photos, videos, a girl who looked exactly like me kissing Ryan, a voice note confessing feelings for Ryan. I felt my stomach drop. Then I listened more carefully to the voice, and I knew immediately. It was Jake, in a wig. My own twin brother had put on a blonde wig, dressed up as me, and recorded fake evidence to destroy my relationship. Tyler didn't believe a single word I said. He called me a liar, walked out, and by the next morning the whole school knew I was a cheater. My popularity disappeared overnight. Jake, meanwhile, was at home eating chips and watching TV like nothing happened. I went home and confronted him. He laughed and said he did me a favor. I poured an entire glass of water on his head and walked out of the room. But this time, I wasn't just angry. I was calculating. Jake had one real weakness in this world. Just one. And his name was Ryan. I found Ryan in the hallway the next day, slumped against his locker after getting back a failed test. I sat down next to him and made him an offer. Pretend to date me. In return, I'd help him study and turn his grades around. He said absolutely not. I casually mentioned that his parents were already furious about his last grade, and this new score was going to make things significantly worse. He thought about it for about 4 seconds. Then he said fine. The next day, I walked into Jake's room, acting casual, calling a truce about the whole Tyler thing. We were mid-conversation when Ryan strolled in, put his arm around my waist, eased and kissed me right in front of Jake. The silence was incredible. Jake's jaw dropped so far I thought it might hit the floor. "Didn't he tell you, babe?" Ryan said smoothly. "Say, Emma and I are dating now." Jake looked like someone had unplugged him from the wall. From that moment on, I was everywhere. Every video game night, every baseball game, every bowling trip, glued to them like I was part of the furniture. Jake tried every trick in the book to put Ryan off me. He told Ryan I talk in my sleep and hold full conversations with imaginary people. Ryan said he found that endearing. He told Ryan I once cried at a dog food commercial. Ryan said it showed emotional depth. He told Ryan I eat cereal with orange juice instead of milk. Ryan looked at me, paused, and said, "Quirky." I could see Jake's eye actually twitching, but somewhere in the middle of all the bowling and video games and fake hand-holding, something quietly shifted. Ryan stopped feeling like a plan. He started feeling like a person, a really good one. One afternoon in the library while we were studying, he got quiet. He told me his mom was moving out, that she was always working and he barely saw her anymore. I told him I got it, that sometimes the people who are supposed to show up for you just don't. He looked at me for a long moment. Then his hand found mine on the table. My heart stopped. I looked at him. He looked at me. I leaned in just slightly, wondering if maybe, and then the janitor appeared out of nowhere with a mop. Of course he did. I went home that night feeling something I hadn't felt with Tyler. Something quieter, warmer, something real. But before I could sit with it, Tyler appeared at school the next morning. He pulled me aside and announced he was ready to forgive me. He even confessed, very casually, that he had cheated on me 6 times. But according to him, we were even, so we could move on. I looked at him for a long moment. Then I told him exactly what I thought of that, turned around, and walked away. But when I came around the corner, I stopped cold. Ryan was standing in the hallway holding a bouquet of flowers, and he had seen everything. The moment Tyler had grabbed me, the second before I pushed him away. Ryan had seen just enough to get the wrong idea. He set the flowers down gently on top of a trash can, then dropped them inside. He walked out to the parking lot and I ran after him. He stopped when I called his name, but he didn't turn around right away. When he did, his face was calm in that way that's actually worse than anger. He said he understood, that the whole thing had been a plan to get Tyler back, that he was glad it worked out for me. I opened my mouth to say something, anything, and he was already walking away. I went home and cried in a way I had never cried over Tyler, not even close. I was curled up on my bed when Jake knocked. He came in, sat on the edge of the mattress, and asked what was wrong. I told him everything. All of it. The plan, the fake dating, the library, the parking lot. All of it. I waited for him to laugh. Instead, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You're my sister. Tyler was a jerk and he didn't deserve you. And Ryan, I've read your diary." I sat up so fast. He held up a hand before I could speak. "Do you want Ryan or not?" I told him yes. He stood up and said, "Then let's go." He grabbed my hand and we drove to the beach. Ryan was sitting alone by the water, staring out at the waves. We walked over. Jake told him everything, backed up my story about Tyler, explained the whole thing calmly and clearly. I watched Ryan's face as he listened. The doubt was still there. So Jake reached into his backpack and pulled out my diary. He cleared his throat like he was about to give a speech. "Dear Diary," he began loudly. "I know it was just supposed to be a trick, but Ryan is honestly the best thing to ever happen to me. His eyes remind me of the deep ocean. All I want is to tell him how much I like him." I snatched the diary and hit Jake over the head with it as hard as I could. But when I looked up, Ryan was already walking toward me. He stopped right in front of me. "Did you mean it?" he asked. I looked at him. Every single word. He smiled. And then he pulled me into a hug right there on the beach while the waves came in. Over his shoulder, I could see Jake standing a few feet away, arms crossed, smirking like he'd just won a championship. And honestly, maybe he had. So yeah, having a twin brother is messy and exhausting and humiliating more often than I'd like to admit. But sometimes, the person who drives you the most crazy turns out to be exactly the person you needed in your corner. I got Ryan, I got rid of Tyler, and I survived Jake as a twin brother. Mostly, remember, siblings will absolutely drive you up the wall, but every once in a while they surprise you. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more stories from my life.